The Biden campaign will host a major star-studded fundraiser in Los Angeles next month. The campaign is looking to boost fundraising efforts at a time when Donald Trump and the Republican National Committee attempt to close the contributions gap. A-list guests expected to attend the event include former President Barack Obama, George Clooney, Julia Roberts, and the two Academy Award winners will also be featured in a campaign social media contest and have their names on contribution emails. President Biden is also expected to hold a fundraiser with Bill and Hillary Clinton early this summer. A source familiar with the plans tells NBC News. So, Joe, it appears the Biden campaign, from everything we've been hearing from our sources, is really digging deep in important states and trying to leave no stone unturned.
Right. And Jonathan Lemire, if you look at the ground game that the Biden team is building up, it makes all the difference in the world. In most campaigns, we don't know. You know, Donald Trump is a unicorn in Fat Elvis's body. So perhaps Donald Trump won't play by the rules again this year. But if you look at the ground game, if you look at the money game, the Biden team really is ramping it up, and they've got a huge advantage in both of those areas, which, by the way, is more than nothing. That is the blocking and the tackling of American politics.
Yeah, and that blocking and tackling so often wins elections, particularly ones that are going to be close, and that we certainly believe this one will be. Yes, President Trump and his reelection team, significant advantages here on fundraising. And Donald Trump's cut into that lead somewhat. Trump's been more successful in recent weeks raising money. But Biden and Democrats still have a sizable edge there and a overwhelming advantage in terms of campaign infrastructure. The RNC simply can't compete right now with what the Democrats are doing with campaign offices all over these battleground states where they're registering voters and will get them for turnout. An election that, you know, is going to come down to that this is one where the Democrats feel very good about it, even as they look at what might be a pretty narrow pathway to 270. And Peter Baker, let's talk about this split screen a little bit here. I mean, Trump, of course, is in a Manhattan courtroom. Biden and his team have been pretty disciplined about not talking about it. The president has made clear, I don't want to be perceived as putting my thumb on the scale. He's made a couple jokes about stormy weather, but otherwise is ignoring the process. But how can the Biden team, even in subtle ways, try to amplify this split screen where the president is traveling from battleground state to battleground state this week in Washington, really focusing on African-American issues? Meanwhile, his rival is stuck in a courtroom.
Yeah, I think he wants that split screen to speak for itself, in effect. They want there to be an image of the president talking about policy, or at least on the campaign trail talking about supporters. And they want, you know, that just plays automatically against the image of Donald Trump in a courthouse on a courtroom sketch or something like that. They don't have to say it because it's just so out there. On the other hand, you do hear the president, as you rightly say, kind of edging around it. He's not talking about the criminal aspect of it because he doesn't want to look like he's ordering the Justice Department or the prosecutors in New York, who, of course, don't respond to him anyway. They don't report to him. But he doesn't want to play into that theory or a conspiracy theory that Trump likes to spread. But he is making fun of him more and more. You do hear him talking about him being Sleepy Don, turning that, that insult around, the old Sleepy Joe, back at him because he keeps nodding off in court. You see him willing to go more directly at Trump in the last few weeks, calling him unhinged at that fundraiser and making fun of his hair and all that. And I think that that's a sign that they understand they need to engage, that it's one thing to go around and brag about bridges you're building. That's an important thing. It's another thing to talk about your opponent, because in the end of the day, it's going to be a choice. Those people who are not voting for Biden right now are people who did vote for him in 2020, and his task is to remind them why they voted for him and not Donald Trump. The polls that my newspaper has out this morning with Seattle College show that the president is behind in 5 out of 6 battleground states, just as he was, despite the momentum he seemed to be getting a little bit after the State of the Union. So all the money that's been spent, all of the campaigning he's been doing, all of the trial images we've been seeing haven't cut into that Trump lead. So I think that you're going to see them go a little bit more directly at Trump in the weeks and months to come.
Yeah, and by the way, just for the record, I love the Times, Mika. I read the Times every day, and of course, especially because Peter Baker writes for the Times. I want you to take him down after I say this next thing. But the New York Times Siena poll traditionally has consistently slanted toward Donald Trump. And what's so funny is the Times will release their polls. Liberals will run around with their hair on fire for about a month, right? And then like 3 days later, polls will come out that will show a deadlocked race, right? If anybody, by the way, if anybody wants to bet me, I can't bet. I don't bet. Betting's for stupid. But if I were a bettor, and if somebody wanted to give me 11 or 12 points, and Biden in Nevada, come on. That race is always close, and Democrats always win the close races, except for the governor. Democrats always win the close race. If anybody out there believes it's a double-digit lead for Donald Trump, you're seriously wake up. And it's the same thing. They're all tied. You know, we can show you polls that show Pennsylvania, Biden ahead, Wisconsin, Biden ahead. Go down the list. But I will tell you, these polls, it's very funny. It's the Times and Siena polls, which always slant for Donald Trump. They put them out, and the political and media class have their hair on fire for weeks.